Let's talk about industrial real estate because the rules, they are changing, and they're changing fast. It's not just about building for forklifts and pallets anymore. See, today's tenants are showing up with entire fleets of robots, and if your building isn't ready for them on day one, it's already behind the times. So let's dive into what it really means to be automation ready.
You know, for the longest time, the developer's playbook was pretty straightforward. You needed a strong floor for forklifts and high ceilings for racking. Simple. But the tenants showing up today, they're playing a whole different ballgame. They're on these super tight go-live deadlines, and their most valuable player isn't a forklift. It's a whole interconnected system of robots, and that one shift changes absolutely everything.
And what this rapid shift means, really, is that the traditional one-size-fits-all warehouse is becoming a relic of the past. If your building isn't built for automation from the ground up, well, it's pretty much a dinosaur the day it opens.
And look, don't think this is some far-off, futuristic thing. This is happening right now. The numbers don't lie. McKinsey's saying that a full quarter of all capital spending is going to go towards automation in just the next 5 years. And on top of that, Prologis thinks that within a decade, that's half, of all warehouses will be using autonomous mobile robots, or AMRs. The automation boom is officially here.
Okay, so what actually happens when you've got this cutting-edge tenant and they try to move into a building that just wasn't designed for them? Well, it creates some huge, and I mean huge, and often hidden costs for everybody involved.
First up, the most obvious one, rework. Get this, on average, a staggering 5% of a construction budget gets completely wasted on fixes you could have avoided. We're talking about having to saw-cut brand new floors or completely redesign power systems. That's just money literally thrown out the window, all because of a lack of planning.
But you know, as painful as that 5% sounds, there's another cost, a hidden one, and it's actually way more damaging to both you and your tenant. So, what is it?
It's time. The real killer here is time. Think about it. A tenant could be looking at delays of 8 weeks. That's 2 months or more just waiting for the building to get retrofitted for their robots. For them, that's 2 months of their business being dead in the water. And for you, the developer, that's 2 months with zero rent coming in. Suddenly, that 5% rework cost looks kind of small, doesn't it?
Okay, but it's not all doom and gloom. There's some really good news here. This whole problem, it has a very clear solution. It's all about shifting how you think about design, right from the get-go. And if you do, you get this massive competitive advantage.
And honestly, the math on this is just a no-brainer. You're talking about a tiny upfront investment, maybe a 0.5% to 2% premium on the building shell, and that small cost completely wipes out those huge 8+ weeks of delays for your tenant. It's a tiny price to pay for a massive return in speed and satisfaction.
So here's the key takeaway, right? This isn't about just adding a few fancy features or bells and whistles. No. This is a core strategic move. It's about building a fundamentally more valuable asset that attracts the absolute best tenants and gets them up and running way faster than your competition.
All right, so that's the why. Now let's get into the how. What's the actual blueprint for an automation-ready building?
Okay, first things first, you have to start from the ground up. I mean that literally, because the single most critical piece of the puzzle for automation is the floor. These robotic systems, especially the ones in narrow aisles, need floors that are incredibly flat, with perfect joints, just to work properly. If you mess this part up, you're looking at saw-tunning concrete later on, and trust me, that is a messy, expensive nightmare you do not want.
And this is not a small detail. The specs for what they call super flat floors, you know, the ones you need for these very narrow aisle or VNA systems, they are way, way beyond your typical floor flatness standards. As the experts say, you have to plan for this. It's non-negotiable.
Okay, floor's done. Next up, the building's skeleton. You want wide, regular column bays. This gives you a big, open, flexible canvas to work with. And here's a pro tip. Pre-engineer the hanging points in the ceiling for future stuff like conveyors and sorting systems. That way, your tenants can just come in and install their equipment without having to do crazy expensive structural work later.
All right, let's talk about the building's nervous system, power and data. Because let's be real, automation is hungry. It eats up a ton of power and generates massive amounts of data. So oversizing your main electrical service and running a fiber optic backbone through the building from day one, that's not a luxury, it's a necessity.
And naturally, all those robots have to talk to each other, right? Constantly. That means you need to plan for rock-solid Wi-Fi everywhere, and you should even be thinking about private 5G readiness.
Just giving them the easy conduit and roof access for all this gear ensures they get that seamless connection that keeps their whole operation humming.
So we've covered the big ones, but there are a few other details that really make a difference. I'm talking about things like vertical storing dock levelers for better security, designing life safety systems with things like plastics and batteries in mind, and of course, planning out properly ventilated, code-compliant zones for charging whole fleets of robots. These little things are what separate a good building from a truly great one.
So, when you put all these pieces of the puzzle together, what does it all add up to? It adds up to a seriously powerful, undeniable edge in the market.
And for you, the developer, the biggest payoff is simple. It's speed. In a market this competitive, the buildings that lease the fastest are the ones that are ready to go. The ones that let a tenant walk in, plug in their automation systems, and just get to work without all those frustrating, money-burning delays.
So all of this really boils down to one final critical question. As you're planning your next project, you've got to ask yourself, are you building for yesterday's tenant with their simple forklifts and racking? Or are you building for tomorrow's, who's already here with their robots? Because the choice you make right now, that's going to define the success and the value of your asset for a long, long time.